You are listening to This is Oklahoma, hosted by Mike Hearn, telling stories of Oklahomans and those that have made it their home.
What's up, guys? Welcome back to another episode of This is Oklahoma podcast. Mike Hearn here, your host, back with another episode. Excited to share this episode with you today, but before we do, I've got to thank our sponsors. First of all, the Oklahoma Hall of Fame. They've been a huge part of this podcast for the last few years. So the Oklahoma Hall of Fame have been sharing Oklahoma's story through its people since 1927. For more information on the Oklahoma Hall of Fame, go to www.oklahomahof.com. And for daily updates, go to oklahomahof on Instagram and give them a follow. Our other sponsor today is Chickasaw Nation. Now, the Chickasaw Nation have sponsored pretty much everything in Oklahoma. They're a huge supporter of Oklahoma, and it's an honor to have their name and their brand supporting this podcast. So a huge shout out to Governor Anatobi for supporting this podcast. It really means a lot. Our third sponsor is Diffie Ford Lincoln down in El Reno. Now, this one makes me so happy because these guys are great friends of mine, play a lot of golf together. I've bought my cars from them. Do most of my oil changes down there, have a cup of coffee, hang out down in El Reno. It's a good spot to go. And not only are they great friends, but they provide a great service. So for over 60 years, third generation family owned Oklahoma business down in El Reno. They're also in Bethany as well. So people in the Bethany area know the Diffies really well. But if you're looking for anything new, used, Ford, Lincoln, or whatever, I'm sure they could find anything you want. Check them out, diffieford.net, and then on Instagram at diffiefordlincoln. This episode is presented by Citizens Bank of Edmond. Citizens Bank of Edmond has been serving Edmond since 1901. They pride themselves on investing in the community and are here for all your personal and business banking needs. For more information, go to mycitizens.bank and follow them on Instagram at citizensedmond, as well as go bank there, because I bank there too. It's been a fantastic personal experience for me. I've had my podcast account there now, my podcast business account there now for 4 years now, I think, and it's been fantastic. So definitely worth your time. They're a great group of people, and they're always there to answer the phone when I forget my password, because I seem to forget it daily. So yeah, go to Citizens Edmond and check them out. It's been awesome. This episode is brought to you by the Dog House OKC. Recently, I have been in need of some doggy daycare for my two pups, and the Dog House have come in clutch. The team over there are incredible. They've taken care of my two golden doodles, and so it's been an honor to partner with them on the podcast and share the love. And the one thing that I do with the sponsors that I have is stuff that I use and recommend, like the Diffies with my car, Hall of Fame. They're awesome. Citizens Banks, where I bank. Chickasaw Nation, huge supporter of Oklahoma. And adding to that is the Dog House. And so if you're in need of doggy daycare in the day or boarding overnight, they do grooming and other cool things too. But I've had a fantastic experience, and it's an honor and a privilege to share this with you too. So go to thedogHouseOKC.com and follow them on Instagram at thedogHouseOKC. And hopefully our pups will run into each other. What's up, guys? Welcome back to another episode of This is Oklahoma. Mike Hearn here, host, back with another episode up in the beautiful Arcadia today. I love coming out here. I need to hit Pops on the way home. But it gives me great pleasure to introduce my guest today, Jared Shuger from JS Custom Homes. Jared, thanks for inviting me into your wonderful house.
Glad to have you.
Yeah, it's, being in the luxury real estate space, it's always fun to see how people design houses and their layout, and knowing you for a little bit, you love your outdoors, you love your sports and your man toys as well, like most people, right? And but obviously, got wife and kids, so you got to build everything. You can't just have 8,000 square foot of man cave. But no, I think people, I'll link your Instagram and website down in the show notes below. People will know the houses you build, especially in the Quo Vadis neighborhood that we're in right now. And we got to know each other, like I said, over the last couple of years, working for Wyatt's team and being in the industry. But it's nice to spend a little time and dive into your backstory and share some stories. We're in your office. There's a lot of New York Yankees memorabilia on the walls, and seems to be a big fan of Derek Jeter. So I'm sure we'll dive into all that stuff. But before we do, tell me a little bit about you. Where were you born and raised?
Originally, I'm from a small town called Wilton, Iowa. About 2,000 people. That's where I grew up. Most of my family, was born and raised in that area. I left after high school, joined the Air Force, spent about 10 years on active duty, flying on the E-3 AWACS here at Tinker. that's what brought me to Oklahoma. So,
Gotcha.
you know, did all the sports, did all the different things growing up, football, wrestling, wrestled for a long time. So Iowa wrestling was big, knew all about Oklahoma because Oklahoma State, huge rivalry and all that stuff. And a lot of my friends, you know, wrestled at Iowa, and there's, you know, a lot of our small town guys have wrestled up there at the University of Iowa. But I wasn't quite good enough for that. After that many years, I kind of decided I was going to try something different. Looked at different things, different options. Aviation was always an interest. At one point I was looking at doing that, you know, at a smaller school, but didn't really want to go incur that student loan debt right off the bat. So I decided I was going to try the Air Force. I'm going to go fly. Worked out real well. Got through everything and ended up getting assigned to Tinker Air Force Base. Not my first choice, but everything worked out real well in the long run. So ended up getting stationed here, stayed active duty for a while. Met my wife in July of 2000, and about 4 years later we ended up buying a house over in Belmont Farms from a guy named Tom Jones. He's been around for a long time. It's custom crafted homes. Got to know him. He built his own personal house next door to the one that we ultimately ended up buying. So we started to become friends with him. Next thing you know, he would be a lot involved with our family and coming to events, Christmases, and all those kind of things. And we'd always talked about, you know, building houses. And eventually I was like, we're going to build another house somewhere, you know, just not sure where. And during high school, I had some experience in construction. I did, you know, roofing, framing. I worked on basement wall crews. So he and I always talk in different things. And once in a while I would go out with him and go look at some of these houses he was building. And he would always say, I could teach you how to do this. He said, I really want to pass on my information that I've learned, you know, over the last 50 plus years. Because he's going to be 90 this year. So he was always wanting to pass that on. But he was, you know, I just was never to the point where I could go, okay, I'm going to quit my job and go build houses. So things just kind of, you know, we always talk over the years. And then one day we found a place where we could build, and talked to Tom, and he was like, absolutely. He said, I'll help you. He said, I won't even charge you a fee, and I'll show you how to do it. We're like, great. So we're all excited. About a week or two later, he comes over and we're outside, and he says, hey, he said, I've been doing some work and making some phone calls and thinking about this. And he said, we're not going to build you a new house right now. We're like, what? He said, I've got this all lined up and figured out. I've already talked to my bank. I've already got a line on lots. He's like, I'm going to teach you guys how to build houses. And he said, if you want to do this opportunity, we'll start a new company. I will teach you, and you won't have to quit your job. He's like, Tom was always like, maybe in a 2, 3, you know, maybe 4 years, we'll be set well enough where you can quit your job and just build. It's like, okay, well, we were blown away at first. But, you know, I had a good government job. At that point, I was a government contractor. I was a regional director for our company. I was doing well, but I was honestly bored. Stuck in a building with no windows, and always believing and praying that, you know, there's something else out there for me. You know, there's another door, and all these doors, you know, would open and they would close, where I could be a permanent government employee. And it just never quite lined up right. So, you know, when this came to fruition, we realized, okay, there was a reason that God was kind of shutting those doors, because it would have been really tough to leave something like that. So we started off with 3 houses over in Hunters Creek. Got to become partners with Brent Gibson. Brent Gibson Design's been around. He lives in that neighborhood. And to help us get started, Brent goes, I'm going to design the first couple houses you're going to build for free. He said, we're just going to do it, because he liked Tom. He really, you know, we really clicked and got along real well. So we started working with him and his son-in-law, Shane Rickey, and designing houses over there. And we started off with 2, then turned into a 3rd. And then somehow I sold a custom. When I had never even finished one house, I sold a custom house. And that turned into 5. Then we sold one. And then Tom's like, well, we got to start 2 more. So we did. And it just kept happening. And then more customs came along. And we were, that was in 2013 to 2014. And so things were starting to get busy because I was still going to tinker every day from 6 in the morning to about 2 o'clock. And I would not take lunch. I would sit at my desk. 2 o'clock, I would punch out and head up to Edmond and meet up with Tom. Or I had personal days, and we had a lot of military and government productivity days. So I'd have a 3-day weekend where I could come home early on a Friday and I was working with him and just learning things. And then in the evenings, I was over at his house learning the less fun aspect of owning a business, how to run, your books and how to code everything and keep track of things. So amongst all this, I was still working. We decided, hey, if we're going to have a kid, this is the time, we better do it. We're not getting any younger.
Yeah.
My daughter was, 7 and she's like, I kind of want a sibling. We're like, okay, so throw that all into the mix. So, we're building. I'm still working at Tinker. We're having a baby. So, and then the next thing you know, we're in double digits of building houses. And Tom comes to me and he goes, look, I can't keep up because he had his own houses too.
Right.
And he's, we're either going to have to pull back on how many houses you're doing or it's time to quit. And he goes, I can't believe it. He goes, this was like a year in. And he's like, you're going to have to quit Tinker. So I did. They freaked out. And because
here's my 2 weeks, sorry.
Because I was a contractor.
Yeah.
My government, the person who was in charge of my contract said, well, she goes, how many days a week could you come down here? I said, well, what do you mean? And she goes, your contract says I can have you anytime I want, basically as long as I get X amount of hours. She's like, that doesn't mean you have to be in the office.
Why didn't you tell me this?
I was set up to remote log in and she's like, can you come in 2 days a week? Yes, I can do that. And I would be, I'd come home from building at lunch and check my government stuff and I'd have everything all, lined out in the morning and I still had, people that worked for me. But yeah, so we did that for a while where I just went into Tinker 2 days a week, was building, and then it finally, I rode through it to get to the end of the fiscal year. Because this was like in, June, July timeframe, and the government fiscal year ends on September 30th, and that's a real hectic time. And I was running the programs that ran all the funding for all the airframes that are worked on at Tinker. So like the B-52, the B-1, the KC-135, the KC-10. Billions at a time coming through with all those different funds. And they were like, yeah, we kind of really want you to help us finish because of what we did and what our company did. So finally, come September, that was when I quit and I became a full-time builder. Yeah. So, so that's how we kind of learned how to do this. Yeah. Tom provided us that building block, and he has his own way of doing things even back then. And then I always, I took what his foundation was and knowledge and, from framing and different things that he had taught me and just the whole process in general. But then I morphed our company into the product you see today. Our goal was always to get out of the spec houses and be 100% custom, high-end type of custom homes. And that's what our product is. That's what our people, why they choose us is because of what we do. Yeah. We're smaller. It's just my wife and I, and then my dad is retired and he comes down a lot and helps. And he used to be in construction and he's been in real estate for 40 years. But when you build with us, you're talking to us and dealing with us. There's no superintendent that I hand you off to. I feel like when you're buying a product to this level, you should deal with the people who know what they're doing. Not just hey, this is my superintendent of the week. And unfortunately, that's the nature of this business. And we toyed with the idea a while ago, about a year or so ago, and just didn't fit our mold. We would rather have less, houses as opposed to having somebody that doesn't give you that approach that I have and doesn't have the eye for the detail like that we do. So, it's when you buy a product from us, you're getting what we do, not some guy that I trained in a week and sent out there and go, okay, keep track of everything. That's really tough to do in this kind of business.
Yeah. I mean, there's a lot to unpack there. That's really cool. I mean, you put how Tom comes into your life, but let's go back a little further. I mean, obviously, you're going in the Air Force. You initially want to be a pilot, and then you're on the AWACS. And where are the other spots where you can be an AWAC kind of personnel? Obviously, Oklahoma City's a base, but where are the other spots that you were hoping to go to before you end up coming here?
Oh, so I start off, obviously we all go through basic training in San Antonio. Yeah. And then from there I went to West Texas, Shepherd Air Force Base for a while. Then they sent us down to Keesler Air Force Base in Mississippi. So I was there for about 8 months. Okay. And then from there, we go up to Fairchild Air Force Base in Washington State and do survival school. Somewhere in between there, I can't exactly remember when, but somewhere when I was at Keesler is when they assigned us. And you put your dream sheet is what they call you. It's a dream because at the end of the day, the military is going to put you where they need you. Yeah. So, they gave us a list of 8 bases, that we could put. I think Tinker was number 6 or 7 on my list. But this is where,
as it is on most, right?
Well, yeah, there's other airframes out there. Because what I did, we could fly on multiple different airframes in the Air Force. It wasn't just an AWACS job. Yeah. So, but that's what ended up putting me here. And I got here in '97. Okay. I've been here since then. Spent a lot of time the first 4 years in Saudi Arabia, Turkey, Panama, a little bit of time in Bahrain, stuff like that, hopping around. So, got to see a lot of different things.
Were you like in any war zones?
When I was there, it was before September 11th. Okay. When September 11th happened, I was actually working in the AWACS training squadron. Gotcha. And teaching new students that come through to do our job and position on the AWACS. We ultimately did not get deployed over there. So I spent a lot of time over there in the schoolhouse, and then I finished up my 10 years. I finished it up as like a staff job because I was doing all the resources, where all the money tracking, and I got pulled over into the operations group for about the last year that I was in, and I got my bachelor's degree done while I was in aviation. Nice. So I went through Southeastern Oklahoma State. They had adjunct campus here at Tinker and several other places. And so I got that, and it was at that point where I was like, okay, I'm still enlisted. I was a staff sergeant. What are we going to do? My wife and I were like, if I'm going back in, I'm going to apply to go to officer training school. And the ultimate is what we decided it just wasn't worth, because if I wasn't going to fly, it was going to be a really big disappointment. Yeah. So decided to get out, and got out, and I maybe been out a month, and I got my real estate license. Yeah. Follow like my father, he's like, just go get your real estate license. I'm like, all right, yeah, why not? So, at that time, my daughter, she was 2 months old. She was born right before I got out, and I got my license, did the school, got a license, testing, everything, and I'm knocking on doors. I am literally for sale by owners, and I've got Hannah, 2 months old. I'm either carrying her or carrying a carrier, because at the time, Angie was working at the TV station still. She was a sales rep for Channel 4 and Channel 43. So she was back to work after maternity, and off I was, knocking on doors and getting for sale by owners. And but then that's when the government called, and they offered me a contractor position back at Tinker. So while I was still doing the real estate, I went back and took that job and did the job there at CE, civil engineering. I was over there for about 2 years until I moved over to Building 3001. That's the big, huge building over there, the largest depot facility in the United States. So, crazy, right? But so that when I was over there at that last contractor job is when we started building. Wow. So between active duty and working as a contractor, I was about 18 years with the government. So,
have you done your private pilot's license yet?
Well, that's a fun one.
Is that on the list?
So, my daughter, obviously, she's done at OSU. She got her private. She's up in Oklahoma State flying and doing their private pilot or their professional pilot program. That's what she wants to do. So I started several years back getting my private pilot license. Just got busy, things, life, work, everything, and then we have weather cancellations, and I just kind of put it to the side. So I started back up about a week or so ago. And I was like, okay, I'm going to buckle down. We're going to get this done. Because now that she's got hers, I got to try to keep up. But she's going to go way by me. She's going to end up, this is what she wants to do for the rest of her life. We, about 2 years ago, she was thinking medical school. This is what she wanted to do. And she's kind of like me. I always tell people, I feel like I'm that tiger that got let out of the zoo. I ain't going back.
Right.
So I like being outside. I like getting dirty. I like being involved in things, and I like the challenge of different projects. Works out real well for what I do. I told her, I said, I think you're going to get bored. This doesn't seem like you. By the way, don't you hate needles? Stuff like just little stuff like that. She's like, I can get
maybe
over
blood
that.
and all the other stuff. Yeah.
But, so we started talking, and a friend of mine who I was still flying with at the time, he's professional pilot. Was in the military, flew helicopters over in the Middle East for the Marines, and he's got about 10,000 hours and flies about anything. But he was flying and teaching me, and I said, why don't you go fly with me and Paul one day? So we did, and she ended up getting in the plane with him because the plane we were supposed to fly was a 4-seater. Well, it was busted, we couldn't fly it, so they ended up flying the 2-seater, a little Cessna 150. And I said, you guys just go up. I said, I'll sit here and wait by the hangar and just do your thing. So they went out and fly for about 40, 45 minutes. They come back and they're taxiing in, and all I see is huge smile. And I'm like, I didn't want to push. I told her, I said, there's no pressure here. I said, if you don't like it, you don't like it. And she got out and she's like, I love it. She goes, this is what I want to do.
Brilliant.
I mean, she hadn't even been in an airplane and some people, you put them in those little airplanes, it freaks them out.
Yeah.
But so, she started flying a few lessons with him, and, he's been flying for a long time, and he said, she has the touch. There's just some people that get it and some people that have to learn it. She's just had things just come so natural to her. So she's a much better pilot than me. And that's the way I want it to be. And I'm really excited to see where her career goes. She's going to be able to do about whatever she wants to do.
Yeah, it must be cool as a dad to see your daughter, or any kid really, but your daughter, after listening to your story of being in the Air Force and thinking you want to fly, and your backstory, and then seeing your daughter, that experience, and her, like I said, taxiing in, and you just see the smiles, and you're like, yeah, I know that look, right? Like, this is, she's, like you said, up at OSU, got a very long career ahead of her. It's going to be awesome to see what she does, but also, like, even just to now, like, even if she doesn't do anything from now on, you can't help but be extremely proud of what she's already accomplished.
Yeah, no, she's always been very determined, and she's got the best personality of both of me and my wife, and sometimes she gets a little bit of my personality of impatience, but that's just because she's very tenacious. I'm very focused in things that I have a certain way I want things done, and if things don't exactly go, we're going to pivot. I want to get that to fit where we want it to be. But she's from 6 years old, we put her in Taekwondo here in Edmond at Poo's Taekwondo. Jason Poos is the owner and one of the U.S. Olympic coaches, and so it's a real program, very disciplined. She started at 6, and she was like one of the youngest ever to test for first degree black belt. She was just over 10 years old. Wow. So we both, so she started, and then I started with her and started doing it, and we were kind of going along at the same pace. And then I tested a couple months before her, which she didn't like. So we both have black belts, and then my son Roman, who's going to be 10 in a couple weeks, he's working his way up, and he's already a purple belt. So we're big into that, and it's really a neat thing for the kids. It helps them, confidence, and there's team, building because they have team events and everything. So
yeah. Martial arts are great for discipline, self-defense, but also mentally as well. I interviewed Rafael Lovato Jr. yesterday, who's a Brazilian jiu-jitsu phenom, who's now a dad and 40 years old and on the teaching side of things now. And we talked a lot about even just the philosophy side of martial arts and all the benefits it comes from, especially in today's world. If your kids are growing up in, it's a little different than when we grew up.
Yeah.
But back to the houses, and Tom sounds like just one of those once in a lifetime mentors that you just come into, and at first you're probably like, what's the catch here?
Yeah.
Right. And then, you know, but you mentioned like, you know, faith, God opening doors and closing them naturally. And it sounds like you have quite a big influence and big, I'm trying to think the right word for it. Your faith is a huge part of your life.
Yeah.
So would love to hear you talk about that too.
Well, yeah, we teach that to our kids, obviously, that, you know, faith is all that's based on this. We're just stewards. We're taking care of what God's given us, and, you know, God's trusting us with a lot. So, you know, we trust him. You know, even when there's times when you're going, what is going on? You know, you get a little, you know, sometimes, I don't want to say worries, but there's things, you know, there's always concerns. So, you know, you just got to put your faith and trust in him and know that things are going to work out. And, you know, sometimes I have to share that with homeowners. Like, they get concerned or they get worried because their house that they're in now sells so fast, but their custom isn't done yet. And I'm like, well, you know, we're just breathe. We'll get you there. When I tell you I've got a date where I'm going to get a certificate of occupancy, I make it. So, but yeah, the biggest thing, you know, is integrity. You know, telling people the truth. Sometimes it's not fun, and sometimes it's not what they want to hear. But people ask for our opinions, and I tell them the truth on what I would do. And that may be something, you know, design-wise or architectural-wise. You know, it's like, well, that's fine. It's your house. But as far as, you know, the real guts of it, like the costs, the expenses, and what things really are costing, they get the full truth, because the way our system is, it's totally transparent. You see what we are you're paying the same thing as what I would be paying if I was building a spec or a house like this. You're going to see every invoice that comes through, so you know where your money's going. You know you're not getting, you know, overcharged. So that's kind of really been the biggest thing is, you know, in the industry, you know, it's always cost plus. Well, we stopped doing that, where I just do it with a total visibility, fixed fee. So you know what you're paying us when we build the house for our fee. You know the estimates as they're coming, you know, because you're seeing my true estimates. And then as the bills are coming in, we're tracking them and they're sending them to you regularly. So you know, hey, Jared estimated $150,000 for lumber. We only spent $130,000. You're doing good. Yeah. So, or, you know, in some cases where, you know, some things are a little bit tougher to estimate, like, hey, we needed a little bit more dirt back here for the backside of this pad to build it up. I call my homeowner, let them know, say, hey, this is probably going to be a little bit more than what we estimated. Here's about what I think it's going to be. Just want you to know, because people don't like surprises. No. If you give them, you know, surprise them with an invoice is not fun. And that's, you know, you and I don't want that either. Our electric bills are a surprise enough every month. So, although our houses are extremely low, it's really, you know, that's the big thing about how we build them is, you know, the insulation value, the windows. We use Pella windows and doors, those kind of things, you know, and our foam insulation. But yeah, just no surprises is the best way, I feel like, and trying to keep people focused and having fun with the process and not hating the process, because we've met with many people that we ended up building for, but they said, my friend so-and-so built with builder XYZ, and they said the process was awful, they'll never do it again, and da-da-da. I said, well, our process is a little different, and, you know, you talk to the people that we build with. We just finished up our second custom rebuild, a repeat build. We built for them a few years ago over in Chitwood Farms. They just finished with us down the street from my house, where they're following me around. So, but, you know, we've done 3 custom repeat builds in the last 2 years. Just people that enjoyed the process, trusted us. One of them was even up in Owasso.
Oh, wow.
He begged me to come.
Yeah.
So he was a good system. We worked real well together, and able to make it work, you know, my process up there with him. But that's how bad he wanted to, because he was not happy with what he was going to pay up there. Yeah. And he wasn't going to get the product that he felt like his other house had that we built for him a few years ago. So, but Not one of those that I want to keep going, but
It's a long drive out there.
oh yeah.
Was it on the golf course or not?
Yeah, it was at
on
the
the Patriot?
Folds, yeah, on the Patriot.
Patriot, yeah.
Yep.
Sounds like, with the repeat builds, I mean, that's just validation for the work that you put in and the process that you have, right? It's nothing better, no bigger, feeling, or no better feeling than having someone you've already built for refer you to their friends, but also come back. Yeah. Especially in that shorter time, especially with the houses that you built too.
Well, and that's my favorite text also, kind of on the same lines with, one of our clients not that long ago was texting me and, was asking a couple of questions, because of the automation and different things. It's like, how do I do this? And how do I, so I was explaining to him, and she goes, by the way, she said, I wake up and walk around this house every day, and I said, I can't believe this is our house. She's like, we are so happy. So that's makes it all worth it. I mean, we're all obviously in this to make money, but I also want people to be happy, and I go above and beyond to make sure that they're happy. And any little thing, I don't know how many walkthroughs I do on a final where we're going through at different times of day, different lighting, trying to find any kind of touch up that we can find. Yeah.
Let's dive into that then, to that point. Like, talk about kind of just the innovation of home building, the technology that you've put in. I remember, we did the first time we met, I did a video walkthrough of one of your houses in the neighborhood, and my videographer was shocked to see the vacuum coming out of the wall, which is the greatest idea ever. But there's a lot of things to that point. So we'd love to hear, you talk just about kind of the things that you are doing personally, to add value to your clients, that we're using the products that are out there. Obviously solar is new and a big one as well. So we'd love to hear you dive into that.
We're starting to see, obviously some more of the solar, the Tesla battery walls. We almost always are putting standby generators on for people, but we're using the higher efficiency furnaces and air conditioners just to trying to keep those bills lower. So higher efficiency, thicker walls. Everything is engineered from a structural engineer on every house we build, no matter the size. So not just the foundation. I have my structural look through everything to make sure the load bearing is correct. Everything is set where it needs to be. But as far as some of the other added things in the house, we use a lot of automation with the Elon system, Vantage lighting, where you can program scenes, and it's touch panel lighting, and everything can be controlled from your phone or from these Elon screens that are throughout the house. We do a lot of those in big houses. You're seeing some solar, not a ton yet. I mean, Oklahoma's still, I feel like, catching up with it. Right now, we're getting close to finishing up one of the biggest Tesla solar roofs in the state. It's a pretty large house, about 8,000 square feet living, but very modern mountain look and very pricey roof. But it's very neat to see the innovation and how it all plays in. And where on cloudy days, you're not getting as much, but that's what the battery walls are for. So, the whole idea is for this system on this house is to barely pull off the surface. And he really, with as much as we have loaded at 62 kilowatts on this roof, you shouldn't have to. Yeah. Unless we have a stretch of really cloudy weather, but that's pretty rare here. So. Yeah. But that's what, those kind of things, we're making our outdoor spaces better by incorporating, the exterior screens that are motorized where you can extend your living area. Everybody's, doing those kind of things where you're out, making that living space out there. Entertaining people, always entertaining. That's a big deal. So, that's kind of how we start with the design process. And we work a lot with Shane Rickey Design, and, had a meeting earlier today with him and with a client. And their big thing was wanting people to feel welcome, feel comfortable, not like they're walking into a sterile environment. They wanted a little more traditional, but yet not dark stained wood, but just kind of one of those things where it's a little more warming. It's fun to working with people like that on their own land because we've got a tree line and we've got a pond to work with. So it's like, how do you incorporate their living space to be able to grab those views and the things that they want to see every morning when they come out to the kitchen. Some of these kitchens, we want to focus on to the front because you don't have a great view to the back. But a lot of these houses where we have multiple acres, like this one, I want to look to the back. I want to see the trees. I want to enjoy the greenscape and those kind of things. So we take all that kind of stuff into account when we're laying out a house and in the design, whether it's a 4-acre lot or a 1/4 of an acre lot. We want to make sure everything's working, fitting, and makes sense. Don't want to get out there and frame up a house and go, yeah, this doesn't look right. So we've flipped a few houses before we put the foundation in, because when we pulled the trees out and leveled the pad, looked at it and go, this orientation will work better if we flip the whole house. And only a couple of times, but homeowners, they want our opinion, and they want to know what you see, because that's what you're paying them, being paid for. You're not just here to just go step A, B, C.
Right.
A production builder, they have their niche, but that's not really how that works in this whole custom world. Things slow down. It takes longer to build a custom, obviously, than it would a spec, even in these large size. So some clients, you can go really quick and they'll be very decisive down the line. And then there's other ones that do not want to make a quick decision and they want to take their time, and that's totally up to them. We tailor the process to our clients, and we get to know them, want to spend time with them before we even start to build, so we can kind of feel how we need to handle this job. Yeah. Some of them, I've had ones hand me a binder with every selection the day we started the foundation, and she goes, "Here's your binder," and she said, "Everything's done." And we started building, and we were going through, and I'm like, so I'm going, okay, hey, we're at this tab. Is this, everything's still the same? Yep. Off we go.
Brilliant.
So they were very organized. Yeah. That's only happened once or twice. But
just dream client.
So yeah, they were fantastic. And, but then, then there's others that, we present things or, paint selections. It takes time, and some clients, you don't want to push them because you don't want to make it a stressful process, and we never do that. I tell people, I'm like, hey, here's where we're at, about 10 days out from meeting about trim. Let's start talking about cabinets and those kind of things, and then we'll meet and go through the process.
Yeah, communication is key, right?
Yes.
What's the most bizarre request you've had for someone to put in their custom home?
Really nothing off
crazy.
The wall weird. Yeah. If that's where you're.
No, yeah, it's when someone's building their dream home, right?
Yeah.
Like everyone thinks, I'll put it in a gym, I'll put it in a movie room. We know the industry, right? Some people have had bowling alleys, and there's even been, shooting ranges in some.
I haven't got to do one of those.
You haven't done one of those yet.
But now I will say we are putting in a slide inside of a house.
Okay.
A 2-story circle, it's a little curved slide. We ended up, getting it here, and it's here in pieces.
Yeah.
So they said, oh, it's real easy to assemble. I'm like, all right, well, so I'm gonna tackle that once we're done with the paint. So yeah, the slide is probably one of the very different. Instead of having where the staircase is, you slide down to the mud bench.
It's cool to have, and Roman, I'm sure, is going to be thrilled to test that out for you.
Yeah, he's already said I'll test it out.
Test it first.
But yeah, that's really about, not so much strange, but just different. We're doing one for a Major League Baseball player, client of ours, and we're doing the theater room, and we're going to do one of those starry ceilings. So it's all fiber optic. So,
Rolls Royce type ceilings.
Yeah, it's going to be neat.
That's really cool. Is there any things the ideas that people have brought to you that you're like, I'm saving that one, I'm going to put it in my own personal house?
To be honest, most of the time it's the other way around.
Oh, really?
Well, so when we were building this house, Angie is really good at seeing things, and all the cabinets and everything. We don't have to actually draw them like in CAD or draw them like have a designer. We will literally talk about it, come out here, draw it on the wall, and build it. If our clients find a picture or their designer draws something, obviously that's not hard. Yeah. But pictures, we've got some really outstanding carpenters that work for us that everything. I mean, we've built everything that you can imagine. So, then we're doing a lot of the floating stairs, the iron stairs. Those are quite an undertaking to get in, build a lot of it on site, because even with these 20-foot wide sliders, you still can't slide a staircase fully assembled through there. So it's quite an operation, and it's neat to see that, with these floating stairs lit up and all finished.
That is really cool. And the ironwork stuff it's tremendous to see that.
We do a lot of iron. We work, Monte Cristo down there. They've done a lot of neat stuff for us. Doors, mailboxes, stairs, you name it. Yeah. And Dustin and his team are super talented. Yeah. So, but yeah, most of the time when we were building this last one here, we had multiple of our clients who would come out. Hey, can we come out and see your house again? Like, yeah, come on out. So they're figuring out spaces, figuring out how things feel, and what can we do. And now even with their different styles, because there's several of ours that we're doing are quite modern compared to this style, but they just want to get a feel for it and see that we do everything the same. My house isn't any better than the house that I just finished down the street. And we build them the same. We've customized it and make it fit you. And some of these people that they don't want to, go crazy on the audio video or put in all this automation. We really like it and we use it. It's a good system. But that's why we make it very, obviously custom. Where your style of cabinetry may not fit the same style as what I have in this house, but it doesn't matter the style. I mean, we can do anything. Yeah. We've done everything from, we went through a farmhouse phase there for a while over there at the Prairie Post and some other ones. And then that kind of got away from that.
It's a great neighborhood over there.
So everybody everybody has their own style. You're seeing a lot of this more modern flair coming. And that's what Shane's really been on the leading edge of this, where bringing in that kind of Florida Boca Raton look and incorporating that into these houses here in Oklahoma. Those flat roof elements and different things, and bringing the roof pitch down. It used to be we'd be straight up in the air, 45 degree angle roofs, and we were doing ones that were like 17, 12 pitch. I mean, like it was crazy, but that was what was popular, and getting those really tall gables, and then all of a sudden now we're back down. So
to that point then, what is coming back? Is there anything that you've seen and you're like, oh, this is is wallpaper coming back? Or all the other stuff, like all these things are coming. I say that because I have to repaint my house soon, and I'm like, it'd be a lot easier to just wallpaper this whole thing.
We've done wallpaper. We started a couple of years ago, really. When we built that first house in Colvadas down here, when we put it in the parade in 2019, Angie was like, I'm going to do wallpaper in here. And I was just like, what? She's like, it's coming back. I said, okay, fine. I mean, I believed her, just do it. And she ended up picking out this wallpaper, and then people saw that house, and next thing you know, I mean, obviously we were not the only ones doing it, but wallpaper it's been back. We've got people doing wallpaper in every house that we're doing pretty much now.
I might just do my entire house.
I want to do a ceiling.
Wallpaper the ceiling.
Yeah, I've seen several, on Instagram that look, it was really pretty cool. I toyed with the idea of this room, just sanding it and wallpaper in the ceiling. But
why not?
I don't know.
That you have your own personal, test home here, right? Don't you? You can use as much as Angie might not want you to do that, but you can, especially we're in your office.
We're all good as long as I don't sell this house. I've been sworn to no more moving around.
No more moving around.
No,
we're not for a long time.
We've been in here about a year and a half, and this is a good stop for a while.
Yeah, it's a good spot for sure. Let's talk about obviously Tom, 90 years old, has been a huge mentor of yours. How do you learn from him that he mentored you and you pass that on to the next generation? Whether that's, obviously Roman's about to be 10 years old, probably a little too young to get into the building houses. But is there anyone that you were mentoring that is, 25 to 45 years old? It's kind of like...
Yeah, see, it's, he didn't have any children. So we started, and he hasn't really been involved with us for a long time now, because we kind of just went and did our, kind of went off on our own thing and, took off on that road to customs. But Roman's the one I'm passing it down to. I mean, the kid's almost 10 years old, and he knows how to build a house really well. He follows along with me a lot because my wife homeschools him, and he's usually done by noon. And there's a lot of days where he'll go with me, and he sees things. I'll tell you what, if you want a picky guy to walk through your final on your house, Roman's the guy. Because he's got a headlamp, and he is looking things, and he's like, Dad, they missed this. Yeah. So, yeah, he's got a really good eye for that. He's really good on looking at, he'll go look at land with me, and he'll, without me even saying anything, I'm thinking in my mind, and I'm like, and I'm just waiting for him. And he goes, that's going to be a problem over there. He said, that's really low. He goes, or he'll notice there's a spillway. He said, hey, they're going to give you a permit that's going to keep you up, right? I said, yep. So, yeah, he's been around it since day one. So he's lived it, sees it, and he is probably one of the best showers, like, of an open house that you could ever have, because he will point out features and walk you through the whole house. He did it when we had that listing down there on my other house. He walked Wyatt and everybody through the whole house. Yeah, he's impressive. Hannah knows a lot too, but I think Roman, he keeps telling me, he's like, when are you going to retire so I can take over? I'm like, not quite there yet. I'm still under that age, but I love his enthusiasm. And here, I don't intend or want him. I'm going to say you're going to do this. I told him regardless. I said, you're going to college. You're getting a 4-year degree. So even if you decide down the road that you want to do this, you're not doing it without a degree. We're big proponents of that. My wife's got, went to UCO, got her degrees. I went through Southeastern, and even when I was still a contractor, thinking I was going to have to be a government employee, I was like, I got to get my master's. So I went back and got my master's. And then I started teaching adjunct in the evenings for Southeastern Oklahoma State, which I really enjoyed. And guess what I was teaching? Aviation classes. Aviation classes, right. So, but I did my minor in safety program management, which applies out here in the job and everything. But here again, you laugh. I think I've got 2 degrees that have nothing to do with what I do, but at the end of the day, I don't really think there's a degree that really teaches you what we do. You can get a construction management degree, which is good. It can teach you the basics. It's kind of like, you still have to get out there in the field and do it and see it and understand that things don't fit into a little box. And you're always going to have to, I say, expect the unexpected, because you never know what every day brings when you have multiple projects with multiple clients. People change their minds, or people want to change this, or move a wall, or whatever. So,
it's not just simple building a house, is it? There's so much more that goes into it.
No, it's not. I mean, it makes it fun, but the passion. That's our passion for it is. This is an emotional thing, building houses for people, but it is also for us, because we put everything into every house that we build. Our time and just everything, and getting to know the client, working with the client, and being there on site, making sure everything's being done, that everything's happening, that nothing gets missed. And when something does happen, it's how do you react? Because in this kind of world, nothing goes perfect. There's always something, that you have to address or work with or help with the client, or who knows?
Well, not to mention how erratic our weather is, and you're trying to build, and
it can be tricky.
You're trying to do footings, and it's pissing down with rain. You're like, well, we got to wait a while.
I'd like to pour some concrete in driveways, but every time we're like, oh, it's right there, and it rains. But and your clients understand that. It's you're doing everything, but you also don't want to push so hard that you're cutting corners or doing something that's ill-advised. So, just like in the wintertime, I get that every time. They're like, is it okay to start a house and do concrete in the winter? Like, yes, we just watch the weather. I mean, I watch the weather all the time anyway. Always have been a weather fanatic. I'm obsessed with it. And the storm season, my family makes fun of me because I'm like on it. I'm like, hey, right here. There's a hook. My daughter's in Stillwater when those tornadoes were. I'm like, you need to go over there now, not wait 20 minutes. Just go ahead and get over there. And so her and my wife are laughing because I'm like,
meteorology.
Not like, not worried, but I'm borderline neurotic a little bit. I want to make sure my people are protected, and I also want to keep an eye on it and do everything I can.
Yeah.
But so and that works out real well for flying, and so that's with my daughter. I'm like, you got to pay attention to weather. Weather is, especially here, because it changes so rapidly. Yesterday we went and flew yesterday evening, and my daughter was up at the same time at two different places, which is fun.
Yeah.
But, we flew down to Norman from Guthrie, and the visibility was pretty good. On our way back, it had dropped to half that. So it's in the matter of 20 minutes. So on the building side of things, you take into a certain account where you're doing your roofs a certain way. I really push hard, like the class 4 impact resistant roofs and those kind of things. And, when there are issues or, things blow off, which very rarely ever happen, you just, figure out what happened, what was the failure, and move on and get it done. So, yeah, it can be interesting. We did one a few years ago. The roof was 6 days old, and we ended up getting a hailstorm, and it just totaled it. So, yeah, nothing you can do.
Nothing you can do about it, right? There's so many, and there's experiences like that of, you're in the industry long enough, something's going to happen, right? Like the amount of people that we know, a guy comes and he's doing the yard and flicks a stone through a window. Like there's so many little things that'll happen. You just, like I said, you can't control, but it's how you react. But yeah, man, this has been an absolute pleasure. Thank you so much for sharing some stories, and people get to know you a little bit more, and people who now are potential clients of yours get to listen to this and like, oh, he's in he's in aviation, and all the little things that people might not know about you. And no, it's really cool, and I love what you do, love the products that you produce, because they're incredible. They speak for themselves. It's on my bucket list to have one of your houses one day. So I need to sell a lot more of other houses first.
So before we the Yankees, everything and all that. So the story on that was I grew up in eastern Iowa. My dad and my grandfather used to take him up to Comiskey to go see White Sox and Yankee games. My dad got to meet Mickey Mantle after a game one time when he was a kid, and it stuck. So my dad was always a Yankee fan, even though we grew up in eastern Iowa. And then I ended up, just kind of turned into the same thing, and love watching them. Haven't been to New York in a long time. It's a little crazy, but still enjoy watching them on a regular basis. And always been a baseball fan. Even though I grew up, wrestling and playing football, I played baseball for a little bit, but wrestling and football was really my main thing. But yeah, the Yankees thing kind of just stuck, and I keep adding here and there, and got a few.
Why it helps you find all these memorabilia
Actually,
stuff?
I got a company from New York that started working with a long time ago, and was just able to here and there and pick and choose and get certain ones. And one of the guys, one of these reps that would call and say, "Hey, I've got a Garrett Cole," and he said, "I'll make you a deal." I'm like, all right, that's a pretty good price. So, I like to collect some of those, some football jerseys. I like the memorabilia and those kind of things. So we built, in our other room, we've got some football jerseys, and one was Lane Johnson, who played at Oklahoma and for the Philadelphia Eagles. We ended up building his dad and stepmom a house out on Lane's Ranch out north of Guthrie, and got to know them and built them out there. And so
that makes it fun too, right?
It's different. And then we're building for one right now. It's a pro baseball, so it's season and they're gone. So it just even more communication and keeping them, because I'm used to most of my clients for the most part being here and coming out. Hopefully, pretty routinely. Some of my clients are like, "Oh yeah, I haven't been out in a couple of weeks." I'm like, "Well, can you come out? I want to go over some stuff with you." But for them, it's a lot of phone, messages, FaceTime, and stuff like that, where they can see the progress and feel a part of it, even though he might be in Los Angeles or New York or who knows where, Toronto. So keeping him involved and making decisions and everything. So, but yeah, it's been fun. Really good people, and it's fun to work with people that enjoy it and enjoy the process. And that's why we interview. We're not just being interviewed by somebody that we're going to build for. It's a two-way street. So because there's some people we have met with, and I've gone, I don't think they're cut out to do this, because and also then there's the personality match, because, if we start at the beginning where we're just starting about buying a lot or buying land or, starting the plans, from that time to the time to finish could be a several year relationship. And also, we want to keep it, where it's a pleasurable experience, and then a good relationship down the road. We've got clients that we built for the third house I ever built. He called me up the other day and was asking, he's like, hey, I decided I want to rip this out. He said, can you send me your tile guy to help me out? I haven't talked to him in probably 8 years. And he's like, I love the house. He said, I just want to change this tile over here and change it to wood floor. I'm like, okay. So that's the kind of stuff that we like, and get to know people, their families, and have a good relationship that goes beyond the building. So it's all about investing in our community, investing in people, and just keep that process going. And I think that would make Edmond and the world a better place if everybody would do that. Yeah,
you could say that again too. People can listen to that one. You're right. I totally agree. Well, mate, I really appreciate you. Thanks for sharing your story. For people listening, what is your website? Where do people go to find you? I know your social media is JS Custom Homes, which I'll put in the show notes, but what's the website?
So the website is jshomesok.com.
Okay.
Short and simple. We're on Instagram. It's JS Homes OK on there. We do a lot of work with Wyatt Poindexter with the agency, and Shane Rickey Design. So you'll be able to find us. We're always usually kind of in the same loop, because we, when we build and we work together, we, take good care of each other. And it's kind of that whole circle of, teams. We don't work with each other, or, we don't work necessarily together in the same aspect, but we're all a team in the process, especially when you're talking about acquiring the land, designing the house, building the house. So you surround yourself with good people like Shane and Wyatt, yourself. And that's the kind of product that helps people and really makes things, operate the way it should be, and make it a good full circle process.
Definitely. Well, again, mate, appreciate your time. Thanks for taking the afternoon out to share some stories. People listening, I will put the link to the website and the social medias in the show notes, and we will catch you next episode. Cheers. Hope you guys enjoyed that great episode. Thank you so much for listening. As always, huge shout out to our sponsors, the Oklahoma Hall of Fame, sharing Oklahoma story through its people since 1927. For more information on the Oklahoma Hall of Fame, go to www.oklahomahof.com and follow them on Instagram for daily updates at oklahomahof. Our other sponsor, the Chickasaw Nation, amazing sponsor. They do amazing things for the state, and they're always sponsoring something in Oklahoma. They're a huge supporter of Oklahoma, and without their support, we wouldn't be able to do what we do. And our third sponsor is Diffie Ford Lincoln down in El Reno. Now, this one makes me so happy because these guys are great friends of mine, play a lot of golf together. I've bought my cars from them, do most of my oil changes down there, have a cup of coffee, hang out down in El Reno. It's a good spot to go. And not only are they great friends, but they provide a great service. So for over 60 years, third generation family owned Oklahoma business down in El Reno. They're also in Bethany as well. So people in the Bethany area know the Diffies really well. But if you're looking for anything new, used, Ford, Lincoln, or whatever, I'm sure they could find anything you want. Check them out, diffieford.net, and then on Instagram at diffiefordlincoln. This episode is presented by Citizens Bank of Edmond. Citizens Bank of Edmond has been serving Edmond since 1901. They pride themselves on investing in the community and are here for all your personal and business banking needs. For more information, go to mycitizens.bank and follow them on Instagram at citizensedmond, as well as go bank there, because I bank there too. It's been a fantastic personal experience for me. I've had my podcast account there now, my podcast business account there now for 4 years now, I think, and it's been fantastic. So definitely worth your time. They're a great group of people, and they're always there to answer the phone when I forget my password, because I seem to forget it daily. So yeah, go to Citizens Edmond and check them out. It's been awesome. This episode is brought to you by the Dog House OKC. Recently, I have been in need of some doggy daycare for my 2 pups, and the Dog House have come in clutch. The team over there are incredible. They've taken care of my 2 golden doodles, and so it's been an honor to partner with them on the podcast and share the love. And the one thing that I do with the sponsors that I have is stuff that I use and recommend, like
the Diffies with my car, Hall of Fame. They're awesome. Citizens Banks, where I bank. Chickasaw Nation, huge supporter of Oklahoma. And adding to that is the Dog House. And so if you're in need of doggy daycare in the day or boarding overnight, they do grooming and other cool things too. But I've had a fantastic experience, and it's an honor and a privilege to share this with you too. So go to thedogHouseOKC.com and follow them on Instagram at thedogHouseOKC. And hopefully our pups will run into each other.
Thank you for listening. We are inspired by those around us and hope that you are too. Make sure you subscribe to this podcast on your favorite podcast platform and leave us a review so we can keep telling your stories. For more great Oklahoma content, follow This Is Oklahoma on Facebook and Instagram.